Thursday at noon, and Saturday, they're open.
We had 24, well, I thought we had 17 and that was a lot.
I can see it. I can do it.
Recorders on, knew better today.
No worries, verbiage.
So to get to the west side.
No, they start rolling in today. Oh, brother is just off in California, which don't part every back.
Nobody will let him in.
They stay at my dad's house.
Where's access down
So then all your kids are
All the kids,
Thanksgiving.
spouses, significant other, now he's got a pretty serious boyfriend, bunch of grandkids.
If you go
Isn't it fun?
east of
All right, I got 9:30, we'll go ahead and get started. Jim, I think you're here for application, so.
Come on up.
He knows the drill.
Yeah, he knows. Oh, you're Gavin.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
My good and gracious Father, I do thank you for you and Jesus. I thank you, Father, that you're the best God there ever was and ever will be, and you're the only God. Thank you. Father, thank you for this time of the year that's been set aside to honor you. First, I think of Veterans Day and how we have honored the country has set aside Veterans Day to honor the men and women that have fought for this country, fought for you, and died for this country. Father, thank you for that. And Father, now we have Thanksgiving coming. And I pray that we will remember what you have done for us. How you have allowed each and every one of us here to live in the United States, a free country, a country that lets us worship the way we want. And we can walk around and just say what we want and do what we want very much, and we're free. And thank you for that, Father. Thank you for doing that for the United States. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And then, Father, we have Christmas later on that's been set aside for us to remember what you've done by allowing your Son to come here to die for us. Thank you for that, Father. Father, next year we're going to have a lot of changes in our government. We're going to have national and state and county. And I pray, Father, that the new people and the new governments will not fight and bicker between themselves and get what they want, but they will fight and bicker for us. That they'll remember that the United States, in the United States, the people are the laws, and they're just our representatives. Father, thank you for this government that's been set up for us. Father, thank you again for all that you do for us. Thank you, Jesus, for dying for us. And thank you for this day. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Clifton?
Here.
Fish? Here. Stancil? Here.
All present. Anyone have any conflicts of interest to disclose on the agenda today?
No.
See any? Okay, moving on. The consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I have an issue with one of the minutes. The minutes from the 19th where we did our work session, it detailed what we agreed to in that meeting was not what's reflected in the minutes. We agreed for ARPA, 60,000 in technology updates, 100,000 in the courthouse generator, and then 115,000 in health and safety for capital improvements.
Well,
Capital improvements for health and safety.
well, it has to meet the ARPA guidelines, so no.
I understand that, but that's something we can discuss at the resolution. The minutes have to reflect what was actually discussed in the meeting. And that's what, I mean, we've repeated it several times, we can't change the minutes have to reflect what was discussed. So if it's a misunderstanding, we can address that in the future, but we should not be.
Good, valid point.
Yeah. So, if the board would concur, I would just ask that we, correct the minutes to reflect what was actually discussed, and then obviously we misunderstood, we found out later, so then we can discuss that when we talk about the
All right,
resolution.
fair enough.
Did you guys want to look at, Heather, would you like to look at the, on the screen, the changes that I suggest, then based on, those are from your email.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Sure.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Those are your changes.
Okay.
That's accurate.
That's all right.
Yep.
Okay, I will
Yep.
strike it and then I will change.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the consent ballots? We'll amend that first. Can I have a motion to amend those minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next would be to approve the consent agenda, including the amended minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, department head reports and discussion. Susan?
Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Susan Price, I'm the Public Health Administrator. I just wanted to start with a little bit of background. The local public health contract provides funding to local Board of Health for delivery of population health activities and non-population health services within the jurisdiction of the Board of Health. Population health refers to health outcomes within a group of people, where non-population refers to considering the health of one person at a time. To advance population health within every Iowa county, the local public health contract was redesigned in fiscal year '23 to initiate the dedication of the use of local public health funds for the public health system areas of work. The required areas of work are leadership in governance, health promotion, and strengthening local public health infrastructure. The staff of Health and Human Services Bureau of Environmental and Local Public Health, along with the local public health agencies, are working together to advance population health at a systems level by incrementally transition the use of local public health funds from non-population health services to 100% of use of funds for population health activities in fiscal year '27. Population health covers disease investigation, immunization, school and daycare audits, health education, communication, etc. And non-population health, there are the homemaker services, foot clinics, and pipeline. In fiscal year '24, we received $43,603 for population health. 25% of that was used for population, 75% was non-pop. In fiscal year '25, we received $43,064. Population health was 50-50 for non-population. In fiscal year '26, for population, we're getting 75%. For non-population, we can use 25% of those funds. Fiscal year '27, all local public health dollars go to population health. With that being said, in fiscal year '25, our county funding for public health was cut by $125,000. Board of Supervisors Stancil has on numerous occasions told the Board of Health members in public meetings to expect additional cuts this next fiscal year, that the county would not backfill funding depleted by the state. This makes the homemaker program no longer financially sustainable. The Board of Health members voted to send down the program by June 30th of 2025. And then I sent letters to insurance companies, Veteran Affairs, and clients on November 12th, letting them know that the program was going to be ending June 30th of 2025. I updated our public health website and the advertisements in the shopper. So that's just what I wanted to update you guys on.
Thank you.
Susan, statistically, without the home health care, it's based on income, correct?
Correct.
It's gonna be a lot of veterans that are gonna fall through the cracks, isn't it? The older gentlemen that need just a little bit of help.
So Veteran Affairs, they'll have other resources that they can reach out to, will help with that. My concern are the individuals that, don't have the funds, don't have the insurance for the elderly waiver portion, so they're gonna fall through the cracks.
I've had some recent experience of that with my father navigating that. And first time around, like I talked to 2 or 3 different agencies and they had a minimum of 3 or 4 hours per visit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that
Yeah.
much. And I did find one that would come for 1 hour. The rate was higher, right? It was $40 an hour for the 4 hours or $55 if they came for
Yeah.
one. And granted, it's not cheap, but at least they would do that for an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
So there's options out there.
Yes,
but
I
if-
did, yep, I sent, resources out to them as well with that letter. And then I'm gonna try and gather, for those that aren't covered under the elderly waiver, I'm gonna try to gather, private companies and send out a list of those to the clients also.
Cornerstone is the one I'm using that'll come for 1 hour increments.
Okay.
That's,
Are the private companies like, are they like corporate-based places that work out of nursing homes, or what are they?
There are some of those, but then you're also going to have those that are just private entities and individual off the street. So they're not gonna have background checks, whereas we have that currently.
But they're trained.
For those that are just doing homemaker services, they don't necessarily need to be trained if they're just providing cleaning and laundry and.
But if they're providing cleaning and the person has MRSA, they would have to know the plant, do universal precautions, or that would be tragic.
Correct,
So they might not be trained.
correct.
We require our CNAs.
But
I
now
don't know,
we're
I
getting
don't
rid
know
of
what
it.
the private industry requires.
Yeah, but we aren't going to have public health, so they won't be CNAs. I'm sorry.
You'll still have public health, they're just not
I
gonna
mean,
have that
the home care,
program.
yeah, so we don't know if they'll be certified
Correct.
CNAs.
It would be up to the individual to ask those questions. Now, could we provide, and I don't know if this was discussed by the Board of Health, but is it possible to research these private companies and see if those folks are certified CNAs and provide that data to the clients so they can decide what they want?
Yep.
Obviously, if they're not CNAs, the price will probably be lower. But then they can weigh, to your point, Diane, what is best for them. It's unfortunate that funding continues to drop and eventually go away.
well, the sad part of it is cut funding there, but the alternative is much more expensive. If
Yeah,
the person
people
can't
are
stay in their home, it has to end up in nursing home.
Much more expensive for taxpayers, yes. 89,000 a year versus what,
Yeah.
5,200
$2,500 per client right now, and it's
per year, and it would be 89 probably for a nursing home.
Do
89,000.
taxpayers fund nursing homes?
If they
Oh,
get
yes.
to Medicaid level,
Yes.
they're entitled, the title 19.
Title
Title
19.
19, that's why your goal is to keep them in their home. 'Cause it's so
But not
costly.
property tax. It would be, that's federal stuff.
They're all taxpayers.
Well, everything is
I
taxpayers.
understand, but the funding from the county level, that's unfortunate, because that's who we serve.
Do you go to their board meetings and tell them all the funding is going away? 'Cause that, I mean, that's a board.
It's been discussed in their board for months, they've been talking about it, I've been going to these meetings, they're well aware that their funding's going away. Two of the members have been very concerned about that, because, like, the counties, we decided we didn't backfill it this year, and we're not gonna backfill it next year, and it goes down even more, so we can't continue to backfill it if we don't have the funds.
All right, Susan, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Susan.
Is there any public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none. Ryan, do you have someone here to do a presentation today?
Yeah.
All right.
You guys want to come up? All right, so Brian Hobart, Madison County Zoning Administrator. I guess I've talked to all of you in regards to having potentially Veenstra and Kimm's represent our county with building inspections for numerous reasons. I think I've explained a lot of that to you. This is just a time that I wanted to get them in front of you and kind of give a presentation on how they could how they could benefit our community. And with a lot of construction that goes on in the county, it's kind of unmonitored. And with that being said, it's kind of our position, my position, to be cautious of the safety and general welfare of the public. And I think this would be a major asset for us to utilize. And with that, I'll turn it over to you guys. Yeah, if you have any questions for them at any point in time, just if they can't answer it, I'll try to, and vice versa. So.
Good deal. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Jason Van Osdal, Veenstra and Kimm, the building official. Veenstra and Kimm started up a building department 12 plus years ago. We're the only engineering firm in Iowa that has a building inspection division. We currently serve 34 different jurisdictions. The state of Iowa has 9 counties that perform building inspections. You would be the 10th that actually perform real building inspections. Right now you have a zoning administrator. When projects come into the county, he does his due diligence on the zoning side of things. But as Ryan was alluding to, it's a little free-for-all when it comes to building out there in the county. You have certified building inspectors that are driving all over your county nearly every day that work for us. We're here in Winterset, Rich Parker here in Winterset all the time. It's a little strange that, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever been a part of it or have heard the horror stories. I'm sure that you have. When someone's going to build their dream commercial building or their house or whatever they're going to build, when things go astray a little or a lot, there's one recourse, court. And that's unfortunate. I've been involved in that too many times. In fact, this year alone, I've been involved in it too many times. When you have a building department that is receiving submittals, doing a real plan review, correcting the problems on paper way ahead of the project, performing regular building inspections, I wouldn't say never, but very, very rarely does it ever get that far off the rails that we can't come to some sort of an agreement to make it comply and issue a certificate of occupancy. We do all the regular inspections, we get all of the submittals, we get everything paperlessly, we keep it forever. We have a permit clerk that works for us. She keeps us all organized and on schedule, and everybody has their own areas that they take care of. We have a primary and a secondary inspector, so there's always communication. There is no overlap in service. We work all the time and can handle any project from a small house addition to a data center. And we do, and we have, and we will again, coming soon. Rich, jump in. Do you have anything to?
No, like Jason said, I'm a Winterset. We've picked up the city of Winterset, doing work since, 2021.
Yep.
I take care of Preston and Osceola, Oskaloosa, so. And then the other guy that would probably be in this area, Chris Campbell, he lives just between Martinsdale and Norwalk, and he's in Cumming, Martinsdale, that whole kind of area, so, Madison County would be kind of an easy thing for us, because we go through it all the time. We're here, we're pretty familiar with it. Is there growing pains? Yeah, there's gonna be some growing pains, but people get used to it. A lot of your contractors that are used to the process, it's just easy for them. We helped Steve out on a conservation building at Panel Park. Got involved with that and saw some things that went on there. It's a pretty easy process, really, with letting us do the permitting and plan review. And Ryan obviously would take care of all the zoning and permitted uses within those zonings.
This is a great example right here in front of you. I knew I knew you from somewhere, but I could not place that face.
Jason? Good.
And you guys know the story about this.
We know you'd be a case study.
Yeah, we don't want to rehash that whole thing, but that is the story that would, like, if we have it kind of getting off the rails a little bit, we do things in person. We're not going to do the teams and the online and stuff like that. We're going to meet the decision makers out there on the spot, just like it should be done, work through it, We have the building code, which is the minimum building code. And if we have contractors here today, we do have the same codes for every jurisdiction that we take care of, because we don't want to have different rules as these contractors float in and out of different jurisdictions. Same rules, same program, same submittals, same process, everything. It makes it easy. No barriers. We want no barriers. Is there a learning curve? Sure, there's a learning curve. But when you're dealing with people who live and work in small town America like we do, all it is a phone call away. Hey, I don't understand. Why do I need a soils report? Had it happen this morning, actually. The owner said, I decided that I don't want to have a soils report on my $1.7 million commercial building. And so please process my building permit. This is not your decision. Please provide the soils report. You don't want to start building your green building on expansive soils. That causes news reporters to show up. We don't want that. And so in the building code, we have that authority to require it. And we do. Just like we require engineered building plans. So this is a great example of how, I didn't realize that this was going to be in my base example, but this is the example for you folks to see how a process could have went. Unfortunately, it did happen the way that it happened. We're not going to get into the details of that, but it's a sordid tale. So, what questions do you have? I don't know a lot of talking.
What's the ballpark cost of a typical home inspection, and does that get added to the permit?
Yeah, so great question. So if you do choose to go with us, this is a user-based system. This won't cost the taxpayers of the county a dime. When you're gonna build your dream house, the cost of your permit is going to pay for the plan review and inspections for that, and the fees are set up accordingly for that. So there is no cost of the taxpayers of the county. You're paying for it, you pay, you know.
Right, but what would the cost be for a typical
For a new home?
1,500 square foot new house?
For a new home,
5 to 7 inspections.
yeah, 5 to 7 inspections, 2,500 on the high end. That's too high?
Yeah, probably more than that. 1,200.
1,200?
14.
Yeah.
Tops with my, yeah, it just
We
depends
deal with
on,
a lot of jurisdictions and they're all
Sure,
over the
no, I
place, so it's hard to,
understand.
say that, so.
the contractors that can have our, like, I'll use a single family house as an example. They have all the mechanicals ready to go when we go to there to look at their framing instead of 4 individual trips.
Right.
And, with an hourly rate, sure, we might be there an hour, but we're not coming back 3 times unless we have we have some deficiencies and we gotta come back.
Yeah.
And there are times where, hey, we gotta change some framing or the plumbing failed, and we do have to come back. Not every house is gonna bill out identical.
Yeah. So Ryan, what would the typical building permit cost for that house be today?
Well,
Without the inspection.
technically, we do not issue a building permit.
Okay.
We issue a zoning certificate, and that is $350 for a new home. It's flat rate, no matter whether you're building $1 million home or a $150,000 home. So,
Like with the city of your building permit, it's gonna be based on
Valuation of the
projected
project.
cost,
Yeah.
Yeah, valuation, yes.
And that excludes the lot, it's just for the structure.
But
Right.
if you look at this, I know a house that without a building inspector, they put up the drywall, came home, didn't put any plumbing in. None. All the drywall was complete, everything was done with no plumbing. You would have caught that, so that ends up a lawsuit. It would be much cheaper, wouldn't it, to,
Yep.
or build a building with drywall and no roof?
Cheaper for the homeowner.
Yeah.
So my question is, you said only 9 counties currently have this.
Okay.
Is there a reason why the other ones don't?
They just don't staff it. It's not even, honestly, it's not even on the radar. It's just,
Jason, what about would that include self-staff? Are those counties?
all counties that do it now are in-house. They're in
Lynn County.
Lynn County, Polk County. Yeah, they're doing it in-house now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just to clarify, so you're saying only 9 counties do this and they're all in-house? So there's
Yes.
no counties that contract out for it to your knowledge?
You are correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you guys use international code,
Correct.
correct? do you ever work with counties that require more than the international code, and how do you address that?
Well, first of all, we have a document that we would put in front of the board that would, like I was talking about, mirror what the other communities that we deal with, Crescent and Winterset. So it's gonna be the same rules, same codes. The Iowa Code Consortium, the group that puts together the codes that make building in the central part of Iowa more palatable. If you just adopted the building code, because I'm gonna do that.
The state building code?
No, the international building code,
Okay,
every single house has to be sprinkled. That shuts down construction.
Correct.
Shuts it down. So we have to go through with the Iowa Code Consortium, put together logical amendments, and those are built into that ordinance that you guys would adopt.
so is there any state code?
State code, yes, we mirror state code for the 2012 energy document, so everything that's in the state code, we would mirror into that ordinance that you have. We don't want to be more restrictive or less restrictive, we want to mirror that into that. So as they bring on the new NEC for electrical, update their energy documents, the plumbing, the mechanical code, that's what they deal with. Not that they're going to enforce all of them, because they're not going to enforce those. The plumbing and mechanical, they're not going to enforce that. But we want to mirror those, and so we would enforce that in the county.
So what's the difference between the state code and the international code, other than like the sprinkler?
Typically,
Is it
the
less
uniform,
restrictive?
you're talking about the uniform plumbing code. It is a little bit more restrictive than the IPC, the International Plumbing Code, but we also have you adopt the International Plumbing Code because the teeth and the administration portion of it makes it easier for the county attorney to enforce.
Okay.
They marry together mostly, but the uniform plumbing code is just a little bit more restrictive.
So, and what about if the county should decide to do less restrictive building codes? Like
Less
say we
restrictive
decide
building
that's-
codes?
Yeah, we don't necessarily want to adopt the entire state code, we want to adopt just this portion. So like plumbing and electrical, we want to
Mhm.
adopt that, but nothing else. Oh,
Yeah,
that's,
Well, there's,
I'm just asking questions.
some of the codes are hybrid home rule, electric, plumbing, energy or not, you don't have a choice.
Okay.
You adopt a code, you have to stick, and even the state building codes, their IBC, the IR, those are all what we enforce.
yeah.
And rarely does the state relax a whole lot besides the sprinkler portion. There's few amendments. And then on the NEC, I think we've only got, 2 or 3 amendments, that's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
So the state's doing everything we pretty much do in our communities. This isn't a different code than what the state enforces.
Yeah.
Earth Internet, the only thing that's a little bit different is like Jason was talking about, was the uniform plumbing code. And it's just a little more restrictive.
And if I'm reading something more into your question, correct me, but if you're wanting to be a little less restrictive, everything that we do needs to be defendable in court, every single thing. So if you're gonna be like, well, we don't really wanna have them do this, but it's in the building code, and we're in front of the district court judge, and we're talking about this, and the court's like, well, what do you mean you want to do this? Well, we just don't want to be that intrusive. It's in the code. So you need to be able to back that up, and this is the minimum building code. They can always be more restrictive. They can always go above and get extra credit. We'll high five on the way out, but it doesn't mean anything to us. We're only enforcing the minimum.
So if we don't have it right now, how are we getting away with not doing it if the state has this code?
Oh,
Because we haven't adopted that.
because you haven't adopted it.
Okay, so it's either or.
Yes.
So if we adopt a code, it has to be the state.
Yep.
If we don't adopt it, it's not.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you, that's the
Yeah.
clarification I needed.
Yeah.
Well, the state's currently doing electric, so on a new home in Madison County, 2 things that are inspected, your septic and the electric. Any new electric improvement has to be done by a licensed electrician, as and then the state looks at the electric right now. And then,
The county sanitarian.
yeah, environmental health looks at the septic. And that's it.
That's all you get.
Now, we do have contractors that work out in the county, Warren County, that don't have anything, and they hire us privately because they want inspections on their homes, new homes. Their clients want it, their lenders want it, their realtors want it. So we do inspections in counties that don't have adopted building codes, but when we go out into those areas, what we can enforce is the state code.
Did you guys get what he said right there?
Yes.
So we have 3 builders right now that we deal with that, if they build out here in your county, and they do, they're paying us privately for your new home that you want to build for us to do building inspections that we can't enforce. If push came to shove, it says it right in our contract, you'll either do what we want to, that is the minimum building code, because if it's not in the minimum building code, we're not gonna say anything about it. So if we can't show you in the code where it's at, the good old boy network goes nowhere with us. It's not the way it should be, the way we like it to be, nothing like that. But if for some reason those contractors at Origin Homes, and you're gonna build your $500,000 house out here in the county, and they paid us to do these inspections because that person wants a certificate of occupancy, they want to have all these regular inspections done, they call for regular inspections and do all this stuff, but there is no adopted code in the jurisdiction.
So they're doing it to protect themselves.
To protect themselves, and the homeowner also wants that, yeah.
So, okay, so the only so homeowners could do this if they wanted to, correct? If we don't adopt it, I mean, it's gonna take about a year to do ordinances anyway, but if we don't adopt it, there's nothing stopping a homeowner from choosing to do this.
I don't know how a homeowner could actually hire a building inspector to come in and do it. You can get a home inspection, like if you wanna come in and tell somebody that they got bad drywall and trim work and stuff like that, that's not what we're
I'm sorry.
about. Did you confuse that?
Yes,
Yes.
no.
You're like
I
a
think
general
you're not
contractor,
understanding what
home
it is.
builder.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to build a new house, I bought a piece of land, I want to buy a new house, what would stop me from hiring you guys?
We wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it?
No. No, we wouldn't do a one-off. No.
Okay.
And I can't think that anybody would, you know, no.
Okay.
No,
So-
there'd be, no.
But you would do it for a contractor.
We would do it for a
So if
contractor
you
that's gonna
require
build a
your
lot.
general contractor.
Yeah.
Right,
Ask your
so if I as
contractor.
as the owner required my GC to do this, he can contract to you, because I could put it in my contract
If we agreed to it.
if you agreed to it.
Yeah, they would have to be a sizable contractor for us to step in and do this. We wouldn't want to
Okay.
do it, no.
Okay, so if I hire my own builder, okay, that helps. All
So
right.
if there are no ordinances, and I can think of a county that did this, allowed a house to be built too close to an emergency spillway with very variable soils. They had a huge gully washer, the house was just washed away, sued the county, and they won, the homeowner
Of
won.
course they did.
Yeah, of course.
But that has nothing to do with this. That has
It
to do
does,
with-
it would prevent this, wouldn't it, Brian? Wouldn't this prevent if we put,
It's probably more of a zoning thing,
Yeah.
Is that a zoning?
allowing that in a floodplain or something like that, but.
so we would, but our ordinances would need to reflect the variable soils or.
Well, that's part of the building code.
Part of it.
Yes.
Part of it.
But building too close to a floodplain, that is a zoning thing, that's not a building.
And the other thing that's just a benefit and part of our job for all of our communities, it's just one of those things. He's doing his job, those submittals come to our department. We're also going to make sure that he wasn't daydreaming when he did his job. So we're gonna have two sets of eyes on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It also, it all
Sorry,
starts
Ryan.
with zoning, but it all starts with zoning. You know, it's gonna hit Ryan's desk first, you know, you look at a site plan, check densities, you know, all that checks the boxes, then we get it.
Yep.
So, are there, again, I'm just hearing back in my head what I'm gonna hear from our constituents.
Mhm.
So are there companies out there, maybe you guys don't do it, but there's companies out there, if I wanna build a house, I can have a subcontractor come in and do what you do?
That I know of, no.
Uh-uh.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No.
So
There's only one
basically-
other company that does this. They would be our competition. I used to own that company years ago. I can't think that they did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, then the homeowner is stuck with the builder on their own recognizance that they're gonna do it right, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, all this is doing, isn't it, is preventing future problems. You're just trying to mitigate as they're building it. I would think it would be worth the homeowners a little bit more money to make it
And you
right.
may think that, but not everybody will think that. And those are as we go through these ordinances, then we need to be aware that not everyone's gonna agree with that.
Well, they're not, because
So-
it might cost them more and they think they can do it a cheaper, better way, but it might not be in the long run.
My standpoint there, if I can jump in, just is we're not protecting maybe, I mean, how old is some of the people's homes that are in this room?
Mine,
Old.
1857.
So you weren't the first person and the only person that lived within that house. So we're not just protecting the person that is constructing the home, but when it goes for sale or it transfers, the next person knows that it was built to code at that time. Another thing that I just the last thing popped into my head is, I reached out to these guys, not because I have a desire. I had a meeting over, 2 years ago with
Yeah,
you, Jason? And was like, why are we doing this? I mean, you've got away with it for so many years, why would I jump on board with it now? Well, in that time period of which I've been in my position, I've heard a lot of people call, and whether it's a certificate of occupancy and their lenders wanting that, or this has gone wrong in my home that I just purchased. It was built 2 years ago. Who do I go back on? It's like, I can't help you there. I mean, I can tell you who constructed the home, and that was the person that owned the land, but the deficiency that's in your home is now your problem. And I wasn't real cognizant of this until I had in my opinion, reputable contractors in our area say that we need to get on board with something like this. Because a lot of what they're doing is fixing issues that have been brought to them from previous contractors.
So substandard building, and then someone else has to come back, so the landowner's stuck for
Yeah.
fixing.
And doors that won't close, sheetrock cracking, you know.
I've experienced
A lot
that
of different things.
myself with my 106-year-old house, so previous owners did not do the right work.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I'm trying to see both sides of where we're gonna see some pushback potentially from our constituents.
There's no doubt about it. Those builders who don't want oversight, they're going to get in your ear. There's no doubt about it. They're gonna be doing that. Like Ryan was saying, the builders that want that oversight, they want to be able to go, hey, you know what, not only did we do a good job, we had another company, a third party come in, non-biased, and check everything out to the building code, and we're good to go, and we can issue a certificate of occupancy for you as well. One little nugget, every jurisdiction has an ISO rating, an Insurance Services Organization rating. I don't know if you guys are aware of that kind of stuff or not. So when you have a certified building official, certified building inspectors, plan review, adopted building codes, we keep files forever, we get audited every 2 or 3 years. Bill Hampton, his name, he comes into our office, it has nothing to do with you guys, he comes to our office and audits me for 5 days. When that happens, that ISO rating goes with your local fire jurisdictions as well for your constituents that are out there in the county. Right now, what are they doing? NA for you guys. That's what they're writing down, so you guys.
So, Ryan, if someone buys a house in this county right now, and they go to the bank and get a loan, no one does an inspection, so they know that the house is safe, or?
They could do probably what did you call it, Jason, like a home inspection?
A home inspection. So
For an
you're
existing home, they'll do that.
Yeah, for an existing home. Yeah.
You're not gonna see what's behind the drywall,
Right.
the
Yeah.
structural
Process.
And you're gonna see it as it's being built.
That's right. Yep, and we're gonna, and if there is a fly in the soup, we're going to correct it. Sometimes that happens very easily, sometimes a stop work order, and a little huddle up needs to happen, and it happens.
So they will be angry when you say this is not gonna fly, you will have
Yeah,
pushback.
I'm in the business of making people not happy.
I wouldn't say they're not angry, I would say, I'm gonna go out on a limb, most contractors, you know, they know the process and, timeout, you know, this is deficient, this is deficient. Yeah, it might slow their day down a little bit, but yet, there's so many communities and jurisdictions that they work in that require this. Most, if not all, understand the process. The people that get upset are, you know, if a homeowner builds a deck and he doesn't understand why. It's pretty rare for a contractor to blow up at us.
We can give you examples and pictures and stuff all day long, I'm not going to do that, but I will tell you something that happened last week, it caught me completely off guard, because I hadn't seen it for a while. We were heading up to go to do another presentation for another community, and one of our inspectors said, hey, I need to stop in here and follow up on this inspection. So we all went in to this beautiful house, I mean, I don't know, $800,000 house, beautiful house. And we're walking through there, and these laminated beams, they're not cheap. They're wide, they're 25 foot long. And that pesky thing was right in the way of that HVAC contractor to put his duct through it. So he cut a nice big rectangle hole right out of the middle of this thing.
16 by 24.
Ruined it. Ruined it. Completely compromised that whole floor system. If we weren't there, at least,
You'd cover it up.
they covered that with drywall like you're talking about, and you're like, oh, everything's no, you know, no harm, no foul. Right up until the time's like, hey, does this seem soft to you over here? You know, that's what happens, so, yeah.
Could have used you for our courthouse project. But anyway, those are all the questions I have
Yeah.
on that. I appreciate you guys coming in. To you guys?
Well, it's really kind of a twofold question. One, do you want to adopt the ordinances? And you said there are 9 counties that are doing this. Well, they have someone on staff.
Yeah.
We probably can't, you know, our number of building permits is kind of up and down. We can't afford to bring someone on staff. So if we were to do it, our fallback's probably.
Yeah. If there's, you know, that's the good thing about the way you set these things up. When you have permits to do, we'll process them through in a timely manner, work through all the issues, get them the required inspections, get all those things taken care of, keep the documents for you. 20 years down the road, they're like, hey, what about this house addition over here? Did somebody do anything? Just email away. We got that taken care of for you. But we're also not going to be the police of the county either. We're not going to be driving every gravel road going, hey, we got you. Hey, you know, you had a lumber delivery out here. But, you know, if we need to come in and do our job, if one of the county employees says, hey, we have a building project over here and we don't have a building permit for it, we can handle that.
So you'll be an independent contractor, I'll build my house, and Ryan, that will be absorbed into my permit, the cost of you.
Yep, yep,
Okay, it sounds like a win-win, I mean,
yep. Your contractor will schedule that through our permit clerk, do everything like that. They can schedule in their jammies at 10 o'clock at night and call for an inspection, 24 hours notice, and we'll be down there to do the
and if
inspection.
my contractor says, no, I don't wanna work with them.
Then you've got the wrong contractor.
Okay. And would you see that ever happening?
Sure.
Or you do?
Yeah, yeah.
The amount of, I know we're getting probably way past the time, but the amount, like Andrew will go out on a site inspection or do something pre-work for a septic install. The amount of times that he comes back to me and says, hey, there's a hole in the ground and they're starting to pour footings. I got nothing. That's the only way that I know that it's there. And then what do I tell them? I haven't issued your certificate of, or your zoning permit, or zoning certificate to do that. I have no, I can threaten, I can, stop your work, but I have no bite. And that's why it continues to happen.
It's a great point. Chapter 1 gives us the authority. He calls us, stop work order, boom, we're not doing anything else on that job.
Contractors get the rest of the day off right then. That's what gets our
Until
attention.
we get our ducks in a row.
So how would we enforce this? So to your point, Diane, if someone just decides, I don't want to use you, I'm not going to do this, this is where we contact the county attorney if they refuse to abide by what their orders are.
Ryan, how many things, I can think of some that are just being built with not asking any kind of permission. And you would know this, and how many of these are pretty substandard? Are they?
We don't know.
I know, we don't know.
Yeah, there's nobody that can go there and tell me that.
Mother Nature finds out when it blows.
That's for sure. Or when it washes away, because it's been,
We're using
I will vouch for Veenstra and Kimm. I mean, Rich has been out to the Conservation Center, and Jason has been also on site. Just as a nicety, we had them come out and walk through the building. I think that would be a tremendous asset for the county, especially with the growth that we're experiencing right now. And as I did mention, there's just not a lot of knowledgeable people when it comes to building a house. You know, I'm gonna build a $500,000 house, I'm gonna hire a contractor. If you hire a really good GC, then that's great, but why wouldn't we want to have an organization like this that is for the homeowner and for protection for Madison County down the road? I mean, especially with all the experience and growth that we're starting to see right now. So I definitely think it would be a huge benefit for our county.
Good discussion, and as we go through ordinance review, now you know how you could potentially implement this, so that's something for the boards to consider going forward in the next year. So I think your timing was excellent on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, on to our resolutions. First one's an EMS resolution, approve a part-time EMT at $14 an hour effective December 2nd. Do I have a motion to approve? A motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any other discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, our next resolution, setting a public hearing for December 10th for a budget amendment. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. The next two are related, so I'd like to consider them together.
I do have a question, and maybe we can lean on you for your history on this, you and Diane. What are these buildings and why do we lease them?
Well, they were originally, I think, one-room schoolhouse properties
Okay.
that the townships had owned since they were one-room. John, you can maybe speak to this better. So when we were doing an insurance review, we realized these buildings weren't on the policy, or we realized that we didn't own them.
Well, both, sort of. They weren't on the policy. We put them on. The reinsurer, in their reviews, noticed that the deeds are not in the county's name. Therefore, these leases were drawn up so that it gives
So we
the
had an
county
insurable interest.
a insurable interest.
To protect them.
Correct.
Okay.
Is the
Correct.
one in Lee, that was by Badger Creek, is that the one, it was a one-room schoolhouse on the corner?
And I think you guys.
They're both one-room
You have
schoolhouses.
a maintenance shed there now, is it?
Yeah.
So this addresses that without having them deed them to us or anything like that.
This is the,
It
yeah.
was the
easiest-
simplest way to
Yes.
To do it.
appease the insurance company.
Okay, all right, thanks for clarifying.
Okay, that said, can I have a motion to approve those two resolutions?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Heather, second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is our NPO appointments for the upcoming year. Kind of talked about this before the meeting a little bit. Typically, Heather's been the primary on the policy committee with Mike as the alternate. And on technical committee, Mike's been the primary with Heather as the alternate. Any reason to change that?
Are you okay with
Unless you
staying?
want it.
I don't want it.
Okay.
You can have it.
Great, drop the choice.
I'll remain on it.
So moved to leave it the way it is.
All right. That said, can I have a motion to approve that resolution as
Need a second.
discussed?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. All right. And then we have the resolution for the rescue funds that we
Yeah, I
had
have a
especially.
question.
Yes,
What about the technical, primary and secondary?
technical primary is Mike, secondary is Heather.
Yeah. Flip-flop, okay, thank you.
So I know we talked about details at our last meeting on that. So the only question I have is, the third floor mini, do we have mini splits on the third floor?
No, but he asked for them time ago and he got an estimate, because it's so hot up there, to put some mini splits on the third floor, because
That
it's.
was over $100,000 for that.
Well, I think it's just in certain.
Okay,
Oh, so, okay, so you'll just take what you can get and do as much as you can with what we give you. That's what
So-
you're, okay.
okay, because I don't recall us discussing it at our last meeting, so I want
We-
a few more details.
We did it as HVAC and replacement repairs, but then, I don't know if it was.
That's what OPM wanted to present, the larger figure for.
Yeah, the several million dollar one.
Yeah, and so,
$5 million.
but I suppose if the HVAC.
So if we move
takes
forward with
over
this
money-
project, it'll allow us in time to eliminate those air conditioners from third floor and actually get the glass inserted in the windows like should be.
So should we, I just don't want to tie your hands, Chip. So should we do maybe just HVAC replacement / repairs estimate and leave the word mini splits off? What do you guys think? Because what if we don't do mini splits? I don't want to.
Yeah, maybe there's some other alternative. I mean, how we want to be as vague as possible, but we have to be specific enough to.
Correct.
Michelle and I asked Shelley, she said you have to be somewhat specific or they won't do it, but,
Right.
so just leave off the mini splits?
Yeah, just, HVAC replacement / repairs estimate for that. Cause, yeah,
I don't.
I'm just, in case something happens, cause I'm still a little uncomfortable with the lease splits because it requires drilling through the limestone. And that's that's the only thing that gives me heartburn.
Well, so we could do this, take off, just put HVAC replacement repairs.
Now, third floor won't require drilling through the stone because the units are gonna be in a dome.
For the third floor?
All mechanical will come through the ceiling.
Okay.
I don't care, I'm okay with, you wanna just put HVAC replacement repairs, and I'm okay with
Strike
that,
mini splits,
with the understanding
that may be an option, but you know, yeah.
it might be the option.
Yeah, I don't wanna, if you come up with a better idea or a cheaper idea or something brand new, cause somebody comes out with something new, I don't wanna tie your hands. So I wanna give you that flexibility, but to your point, Diane, we need to be specific, so.
I
do you
don't
think
know
that
that
would be
this is-
specific enough?
If we leave it like it is,
HVAC replacement repairs estimate, just period, or should we put HVAC replacement repairs estimate for third floor?
No, don't, because you don't know, what if something goes belly up before that on the first floor? Then we tire something.
True. What do you think?
How about you put courthouse in there?
HVAC replacement repairs, yeah, but what if something goes bad here?
The reality of it is you're trying to comply with the intent of
I
the
know.
regulation, but there's no one policing it anyway.
Well,
So you wanna submit this and have it be accepted.
But it
But
might,
at
We're
the
gonna
end
be
of the day,
replacing
you
and
put
repairing
this
something.
type of window, take air conditioner in versus mini split,
Yeah.
there's no policing.
let's just put
Your
H,
intent is that it's HVAC and
let's put HVAC replacement repairs, period. How's that?
works for me.
Do you agree with that, all of you?
Yeah, I'm
So
fine
we'll
with
just strike the end of it?
Let's run it by Shelley to make sure she's comfortable with it.
We have, we pretty much.
She's
have,
okay with
yeah,
that? Okay.
Just be kind of specific.
Let's
Okay,
get
so
her,
we'll just.
get her done. So, okay, that said, can I have a motion to approve that resolution as amended?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And our next resolution is cleaning up a bunch of stale dated checks.
So this comes back to us, correct?
Yeah, well, there's,
They just didn't cash?
they just didn't catch them.
Oh, okay.
But
And
they
what happens
could
if they do cash them?
Well,
It's too
they'll be
late.
stale dated, they'll be returned.
How long is
It was a year,
What's
I
our
think
policy?
it's-
Do you have
I
a
think-
policy on
I
that?
think banking policy is
90 days.
90 days or 180 days, and technically they're supposed to be returned. It's
Yeah,
stale
like-
dated.
I know the ones that we have on there, they're void, the warrant, not cash. We void the warrant out. Our office sends that to the auditor. Treasurer then keeps track of that. I think those checks are already been voided in the system. This is just, the numbers are still there,
This is just the
clean
paperwork.
work.
It's just a
Okay.
Mike,
At least that's
Okay.
what they'll are for the two with the secondary roads on.
why would a vendor not cash a $950 check? Why would
They
they?
lost it, accidentally threw it out with pile of papers.
You think they
Right.
figured that out?
We, over my years here, we've had strange things happen. They lose them, or it doesn't ever show up, like for 6 months. And then, in order to pay the vendor, we void that, brought that check out, so it can't be cashed. And then 6 months later, somebody finds it, and they return it to us. Or never gets found, so it does happen, especially with paper.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
We don't want it to happen very often, but it does happen.
Well,
All of these
I
are
see
at
it on
least
my
a year
personal
old.
Yeah.
checking accounts.
And I believe if you look at that list, that's over several years.
It was.
At least a year, and then some are over 2 years, so, yeah.
Okay, all right, very good. Kind of motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any other discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, very good. Moving on to board member reports.
And where'd you go?
Well, I attended North and Middle River Watersheds. They have a pretty good budget, and they were going to do 2 big open houses in Jackson Building and then in Indianola. And the total attendance was 14.
That's good.
I had made suggestions that they do this at maybe during school wrestling meets, they're there, or bigger functions that people are already there. I also said that I felt that they have a tendency to preach to the choir, the people that already know what's going on. And I said, I think if we walked down the street and asked 10 people where the watershed was, nobody would know. Well, I did do that, nobody knew. So I think there's gonna be some changes there maybe with the way that's, because the response was so poor. I attended historic preservation, and did write a letter because Teddy asked us to support the bridges and
Did the same.
landfill. The landfill, we did approve, almost $46,000 worth of really tight fencing. And then in the spring, we'll look at planning some windbreaks to stop any trash that might blow off. All our wells have been closed and certified, so we're moving along really fast.
Excellent. Heather?
Okay, I attended an MPO meeting. I also attended the IO workforce meeting. We discussed what we agreed to. It is a 2080, by the way. It just has the language of 2080, it just doesn't have the word of 2080. And I ran it by Jamie, she said it has the words, so. Yeah. So attorneys wrote it. So we did that. I also attended I wrote a letter to support the bridges too. We had our 2 election canvases meetings, our work session. We discussed ARPA fund. There was also I attended the Mid-American Energy Middle Mile webinar. They are coming in and building their own private broadband infrastructure. And they are willing to open up to people to lease, either via dark fiber or wholesale on there. I asked for a copy of the webinar, I haven't gotten it yet, so I can share it with you when I get it. But it was quite informative. They do this because they connect all their internal telecom network. They have their own private network. So they've opened it up in order to expand broadband to rural areas. So I hope to know more about that, but it was a very interesting webinar.
Now, did Brenner County, was it the pipeline and he lost that lawsuit, is that correct?
For
Because
the CO2 pipeline?
I believe so.
He wouldn't allow them to come on.
Oh, you wouldn't allow the
lost-
inspectors,
and he
yeah, I went
lost
all the way to the
that.
Iowa Supreme Court, and they said, no, you have to allow the inspectors on. This is different, this is
I
just.
know, I understand that, I just thought you might know that. I
Yeah,
understand
no,
it's
he lost the
different.
law, so they have to allow the inspectors on, which is unfortunate. But anyway, so that was interesting, so more to come. I don't know if I might reach out to some of our local telecom companies to see if they're even aware of it.
And this is through Mid-America?
And they do have, this is very common, that they do sharing agreements. The telecom carriers and the utility companies often share, they call it co-location. So you can pull fiber and put it on a Mid-American pole, or CenturyLink allow Mid-American to share a trench and put their stuff in. It's a very interesting, and it's allowed under federal law for them to do that, and it allows efficiencies and it's cost effective.
Does law one to eat up the others and become bigger and bigger and just own it all?
Well, no, because they fall under 2 different federal codes, as well as state codes, so they're regulated. So, but this sharing agreement and the middle mile thing, I think it's a unique way to conquer the issue of rural broadband, because wireless is great. I mean, Elon Musk is great with his Starlink, but there are some things where you do need fiber connectivity.
So they can't become a monopoly because
They're
it
not
would
allowed
be
to be,
regular?
they're not allowed to be a telecom carrier. What they do is they have, the best way to describe it is they're subcontractors. Basically, they're letting CenturyLink or Omnitel or somebody else use that portion of fiber they call it the middle mile. So it doesn't go to Phil's house.
Right.
But they would connect to, say, CenturyLink, they allow CenturyLink to use their backbone to get from point A to point B.
Okay.
Rather than CenturyLink trenching their own fiber.
Okay.
So that's probably the best way to describe it. So I think it's an awesome prospect for us, or for carriers, to maybe improve what we have out in the rural areas. So we'll see what happens. They're just starting, so.
Sometimes you might be lucky if you don't have any.
I can't spy on you.
All right, I had a couple meetings of interest. I had an aging resources meeting, and not unlike Susan's comments, the funding just keeps getting cut. And, you know, the nutritional program will have some additional cuts there, which is unfortunate because home health care and home delivered meals do a lot to keep people in their own homes, so that's unfortunate. We had a mental health meeting. Normally it would have been the 21st. We split it back to Friday the 22nd because when the RFPs were submitted for managing those regions, they had the opportunity to interview the applicants on the 20th and 21st. The state chose not to interview anyone, so go take that for what it's worth. I have no idea what that means. It sounds to me like the fix might already be in.
So the state's gonna be taking it over?
I have no idea.
Oh,
They said, they had, and depending on the region, you know, we submitted, CICS submitted applications for 3 different regions. And there were multiple applications for each of those. But the fact that they didn't even ask for presentations, I thought that was really strange.
That is very strange.
are they taking it over by dropping it?
I don't have any idea. They went through a lot of work to establish these new regions and whatnot.
Yeah.
They are supposed to respond, I believe it's by December 30th. So it's right a year, right in the middle of the holidays. So stay tuned, this is gonna kind of come down at the last minute, so I don't know.
So theoretically, there's a possibility that we could be dropped on our head.
Yeah.
Won't be dropped on our head, but CICS might not be managing any of them, and if it doesn't, there's no sense for that organization to exist anymore. But it could be kind of like when the managed care organizations took over the Medicaid stuff. You
Okay.
might have, you could theoretically have one agency that, okay, you might have these regions now, but one agency's taking care of all of them, and say, why do you even have regions at this point?
Exactly.
Where are these, you know, people that are in crisis, like some of us witnessed last week, where do they go? I mean,
I don't know.
she could come
The
here,
closer
walk
you
in,
have
and they
to-
go, where do they go?
The sources at the site of the problem, the better off you are. So.
We might need,
They're-
we might need to do some out-of-the-box thinking in, you know, either
I don't know that it's gonna be your choice, it's the state's gonna come in and, who knows? They may,
Well, where to go, to basically on our, what I meant is
Yeah.
put on our website to direct people so they know where to go rather than showing up and then me not knowing. I'm hoping if what they do, what we think they're gonna do, they at least empower the counties to how to help their people.
like, why they wouldn't allow the presentations, I don't know. I know our staff at CICS worked hard to put together a nice
Yeah.
PowerPoint presentation, which granted, there's 3 of them, but they're gonna be somewhat similar. And now, thanks, we aren't gonna have anyone make presentations.
But you know, even if it's on a website and I'm suicidal and I have to drive to Des Moines, I might not drive to Des Moines. I think that when it's all, yeah, you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
So, well, like most things, while the intention is good, sometimes the implementation is not, so.
It seems like we want to take everything away and just control it in one area, and that scares me.
I think sometimes you're better off, when it's smaller, you have a better idea of what the actual needs are.
Yes. And if you have to be regioned in with Polk, you know how much you're going to get if you're regioned with Polk.
And the further away you get, I mean, think of the southern tier counties.
They're trying to share supervisors because no one will run.
Where is that?
Adams, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, it's gotten, and,
How are you sharing supervisors?
well, that's what they said, can't do it.
You can't do it.
We're kind of getting off in the bushes now, but
Yeah, we are.
stay tuned on
Okay.
the mental health. We have a meeting tentatively scheduled for 21st of December, or something like that, but we most likely won't know anything by then, and that meeting might end up getting canceled, so. Relay that information. Actually, we have a supervisors meeting, but when they changed the organization structure of that board, there is a quarterly supervisors meeting that all supervisors within the region can attend. That meeting is on December 17th. So most likely going forward, that would be the meeting that one of the supervisors from Madison County would participate in. I don't know who's gonna take my seat, but it probably won't be Madison County, it will be probably somebody that had served on the board that's got a little more experience, and especially now, because it might be done in 6 months. Anyway, I will keep you posted on that. All right, new business, policy regarding attendance of boards and commissions. Brian had brought it to our attention that someone on one of his boards is a very poor attender, which is unfortunate.
So I wondered if it was okay with you two, if maybe we could just make a resolution to ask each board to have a policy of what they want their attendance to be. They can come up with it themselves, it doesn't have to come from us.
Yeah.
And they need to come up with it per each board, what they will accept or won't accept, and they can figure that out, because some of them they don't meet all the time, correct?
Right.
And so we couldn't say, if you miss 2 meetings, you're out, I mean, you might have, but I think they can come up with it, and I think each board needs to have that done.
I would agree. However, in looking at the code, we have to be very careful, because once people are appointed to boards, there's only a certain way that they can be removed. And it doesn't say anything about policies or anything like that. So if we do that, I would like to, whomever our new county attorney is, be engaged in that process to make sure we're not doing things out.
You probably don't have any authority on it, but I know one board I sit on, they have an attendance policy that you agree to each year. You know, and if you don't attend, well, there's nothing they can do about it, but.
Right.
But keep in mind, these are relatively short-term
They can't
appointments.
kick
So
you
when,
off.
when their appointment comes up, you cannot reappoint
Okay,
them.
all right, I just want to make sure.
No, what they'll do is we'll encourage them to say, you can make this is what our policy is, this is what you need to attend. They agree to it or not, and if they don't, you can't kick them off, but it would be, they probably won't do it because they've agreed to it.
Also, too, we might want to do a better job, and whoever we appoint, letting them know what the commitment is. Okay, there's gonna be a meeting every month. Are you gonna be able to attend the meeting? Here's when the meetings usually are. So we potentially screen out applicants that know they can't meet every month.
Well, that needs to be on that, well.
No, we appoint.
Yeah, we do.
But it's no different than on many of the boards that I sit on. There's supervisors on those boards that I've seen show up at a meeting for 3 or 4 months. And I'm sure you guys see the same thing.
I see one that has a good nap at each one, so.
Well, at least they're there.
They're there.
I think having a policy is a good idea, right? So,
You probably can't have your teeth on it, but at least, yeah.
At least when they take the position and they first
You're-
start, you
you're
say,
expected to
you're
participate.
expected to.
so how do we, now that we've determined it's a good idea, how do we let our boards know or encourage our boards to do that?
I think when Michelle gets their applications, we could come up with a brief statement that's an understanding that when you accept this position, that you attend the meetings consistently, that's all we have to say. And then, we don't say how many, just consistently. And then if they opt not to, there's nothing, we have no teeth, but it
But you won't reappoint them.
You won't reappoint them.
So just for future
Yeah.
applicants coming in. Okay, I think that's.
All right, good discussion.
Yeah.
All right.
We wanna, did
We didn't really, Ben, but I don't know, it's kind of old business, you know, it should be old business.
business.
County supervisor interviews next Tuesday.
Yeah.
County
Or
supervisor.
county attorney, excuse me. Supervisory meetings with county attorneys.
Oh, no.
Kelly sent an email out yesterday afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to talk around this without mentioning names or whatnot in a public meeting, because when we interview them, they'll have the opportunity to go to closed session. But of the 4 PDFs you sent here, one of them did not actually apply.
Correct.
And in looking at them, I would say that individual was not qualified anyway. They had no relevant experience, right? Does anyone, are everybody tracking?
Yeah, we're tracking. All right.
Let me pull them off real quick. So, here with me a second. I don't remember them all, so.
There was one that had no relevant experience.
Yeah, there was.
Okay.
And that individual has not technically applied, they just submitted a resume.
My computer's
Give me a
not.
second. Okay, so you're saying remove the person that did not submit.
Right, and that was the one that I thought had no relevant experience anyway.
I would concur with that.
That being the case, we have 3 applicants, possibly a 4th. Someone has
Because they
expressed
have
interest
the
but
end-
hasn't actually applied yet.
They have the end to the end of today.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Just gathering a little more information on whether they would be able to continue with a private practice as well as being a county attorney. Heather provided a Iowa code that said that if they were to continue with private practice, they would need to be a part-time county attorney. I did send it to Ehlers and Kimm and they concurred. And I just got that information, so I'm gonna let him know. I'm very interested in the position, but just concerned about.
Okay. All right, well, I think that's kind of right.
If
If that
we
individual
did-
wants to continue in private practice
They can only be a part-time,
and
which is
sell.
something we could entertain.
They could be a
It's
part-time and
position,
then.
though, when you have,
County
2 or 3 full-time attorneys underneath you, that isn't.
I know. But it's
I-
something we could entertain.
We could entertain.
We have done
Years ago.
that. Years ago, they
Yeah.
did that. They hired-
It was a visible failure, to be quite honest. So,
Putting it out there.
yeah,
So as an option, doesn't mean I agree with the option, but it is an option.
Well, we'll have to interview.
so Kelly, why don't you relay that information to the applicant and we'll see if they apply or not.
Okay.
If they don't, I think we have 3 that we would be interested in meeting with.
Okay,
So if you could reach out to the 3 of them and set up interviews,
on 12/30.
Yeah.
that 12:30 is the date, right? At
December 3rd.
December 3rd, beginning at 8:30.
Okay.
How many minutes do you need to allow for these?
Half an hour isn't what we usually do.
I wonder if you want to schedule 45 to allow us a little time in
And
between.
you have a list of questions, correct?
Yes, I did send those to Jamie to look over, and then I'm going to send them to you for your approval.
Is she gonna add more things too that are like lawyerly questions?
I asked her to. I haven't heard back from her yet. I just got into her yesterday.
Okay. So, yeah, because I mentioned to you, we should probably let them know sooner
Yeah,
rather than later.
well, I think that can happen today.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
attorneys and they'll probably have to reschedule things.
So that would be an 8:30, 9:15, and a 10 o'clock, and a 10:45 if we get the 4th applicant. All right, everybody
Thank you.
concur?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sounds great.
Oh, Chip, is he here? He wanted me to share that here is, this was under old business review. Can I go back? You okay with that? Here's the bill for the, shingles on the garage at the Annex, and that came under, it was 5,000, it came under 4720. And then the vinyl siding that we really need to talk about, he said it's so bad, is, here are some
That's some
estimates for
masonite
that.
siding on that, isn't it?
Um,
Is that old masonite siding on that thing?
Which building is this again?
It's a garage.
Oh,
And so that came in at labor 4241, and these were quite a bit cheaper, he found this.
For about $9,000, you can get a new roof
Yeah.
and siding on it?
Yeah, well, the rookies got done because the insurance paid for all, but paid for 5,000, it came at 47, so if I suppose we should put this under new business, or do you want to wait?
You should put it on,
Let's put
if
it
you're wanting
under-
to do it, you should probably do it as a resolution.
We need
Yeah.
to, we'll do it as a resolution next
And you
time.
could probably use lost money for that.
Yeah, I think he felt that needed to be done,
Probably makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, all right, ordinance review and updates, you have anything, there we kind of talked about ordinance in a roundabout way for quite a while. so maybe-
Yeah, so, I sent out, the request for a bid to 12 different companies, 12 different companies. I haven't received any responses yet, but they have, I think, to the end of today. So what I'm gonna do is, when we're done here, I'm gonna send an email saying, following up, saying, are you guys interested in bidding? And, because otherwise, if no one else bids, all we have is the bid we've already received.
All right.
And they might not. They
Okay.
might not.
Very good.
So.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving.